financial problems, elder law, criminal law, tax problems, business matters, divorce, personal injury, bankruptcy, your life, your reality. Life is complicated. There is the law and there is reality. Welcome to Law and Reality, sponsored by THAV GROSS. Now here's your host, Ken Gross.
Welcome to this segment of Law and Reality. Today's topic is debt elimination is a smart move. Ryan Small.
A pleasure to be here this morning, Ken, because this is a topic that I truly can sink my teeth into.
So that would mean that you're probably going to have a lot to say during the show. So I'll introduce the rest of the panel, and then we probably won't hear from them the rest of the time.
I was going to say, when don't I have a lot to say?
Good morning, you're excused.
Thank you.
Jim Simasco, nice to have you back on the show.
It's a great day, and it's going to be a great week.
All right, Jim, you're excused also.
Okay.
Jeffrey Kirshner.
That's Mr. Wallflower to you, and I'll have a nice time listening to Brian all morning long.
Now back to Brian.
All right.
Anyway, debt elimination is a smart move, and I want to play a game. I want to play who, what, where, and when. Are you in?
I'm good. Let's go.
All right, let's start with the who.
Not me.
Of course. Of course. Okay, well, Brian's out. All right, so I will have to take over the debt commentary. But who is maybe you who's watching, and if it's not you, it's someone you know, because debt is an issue that is typically out there for everyone at some time. It's a question of how much, and everybody has some debt, even you.
Oh, yeah.
Do you have a mortgage?
I do have a mortgage. I have a car payment.
Okay. Do you have a credit card?
No, I don't.
So you don't accumulate any points and charge?
I have never carried a balance on a credit card in 21 years.
He didn't answer the question.
Repeat that comment.
I have a credit card. Do I use it as a credit card?
So
No.
the question was yes. The answer to the question was yes.
Yeah, but I pay it weird.
Counsel, when asked a question by the bench, answer it truthfully or get out. Do you understand?
It's a possibility that I'll be leaving any second now.
So yes, you have a credit card, but you don't use it. You don't even use it for points?
Try not to, never.
Okay.
I mean,
I use a card for points. I find points are free money.
Okay. So, and I work on the theory that cash is king. If you don't have the cash, you're not the king.
Oh, I agree with you, but and we're kind of digressing. But if you pay off the card every month, and you take advantage of only the points, the credit card industry is paying you interest on your money, and that's where you're making a profit off of it. And I look at it this way, different than you, because I made the mistake of paying boatloads of interest to the credit card companies when I was young, and at least now I'm getting some of the money back because I get my triple points when I can, and then I use the points to spend and buy things with.
But recognize something. My use or non-use of credit cards is not the average person. Because
you're not the average person.
Because of what I do for a living.
That's the kindest thing you've said to him in a long time.
I didn't say above average. I didn't say below average. We all agree you're not average.
In all seriousness, because of the debts that I deal with for other people, getting them out of, and I see so much financial misery. The reality is that it's an occupational hazard to not use a credit card for me. It's not the average person. The average person will use that card. They will charge it up. They'll collect the points. They will conceivably pay off their balance every month. Some people the problem is not paying off your balance every month. The problem is accumulating the debt.
Yeah, and if you're paying, I mean, I would define the you as if you have debt and you're paying interest on the debt, then you are part of the you. The question is how serious of a problem it is. It depends what is the debt. So let's talk about the what, in terms of what type of debt, how much debt. And I think you can break that down into two categories. Category 1 visualize it as acceptable debt. Category 2 is unacceptable debt. Now, I put into acceptable debt, and we'll debate this maybe with Brian, but a mortgage at a low interest rate, would we all agree is an acceptable debt?
Well, yes, because most people are not going to have the money to go out and spend $500,000 and pay cash for a home.
Okay, I was good with yes. Okay, everybody's good with yes?
I'm great with Brian. I'm great
Okay.
with yes.
All right, now the second one might be better, more debatable. Credit card debt if paid off in full every month.
If you have the discipline to do that and you don't decide to carry it over to the next month,
Not even 1 month.
then I find that to be acceptable.
Okay. Auto loan, low interest or interest free?
Again, acceptable because cars have gotten so expensive that the average person can't write a check to buy a car. Even a used car. They say used car prices are now up 11 to 14% over the same period last year.
What's the average cost of a new car?
I
good
think
question.
it's like
Big range.
$36,000 is the average cost of a new car.
My
something I read.
first house in Novi was 80, and that was in like 1983 maybe, I think. I'm not even sure when it was. Probably around 83. So, and people spend more than 80 for a car. I don't spend more than 80 for a car, but you can get into the 50s on a car real quickly.
It's
Yeah,
different.
I mean, and it doesn't have to be a super car. Like the new Ford Bronco, for example, they have so many trim lines. You can spend $23,000 or $120,000 on a Ford Bronco, depending on which one you get.
That's a big range.
Yeah.
All right, interest-free loans. Best Buy, 12 months interest-free, 24 months interest-free. What are your thoughts on that? I know I'm starting. It's kind of a continuum. So I'm trying to. So I'm going to see. Yeah.
I think cash is king. I don't believe in it.
Because if you can't afford to pay cash for it, you shouldn't buy it.
Right.
Okay.
But again, that's the same thing, though. Interest-free loans, as long as you're disciplined to pay the loan back before the interest kicks in. But again, it goes back to your credit card statement. Using the credit card, as long as you're disciplined to pay every month. Same with these loans. Pay before the interest kicks in, then that should be okay.
and there's a category that falls into there that isn't necessarily, it's lesser than a mortgage or a car, but there are big ticket items if you own a home you need. A furnace, a sofa for a
And
house.
sometimes you need to buy that thing, and if you don't have the cash, then interest-free, at least you're avoiding paying on the interest. All right, let's take a break. We'll talk about unacceptable debt. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We are here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We will create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
I love you too. Bye-bye. That was Jerry. Emma just said her first word.
Oh,
Jerry says hello and they'll be over soon.
who's Jerry? Is he a friend of yours?
No. This Jerry. Our Jerry. And this is his wife and their little girl.
You can't work. You have to deal with pain and stress. Worse yet, our system for applying for disability benefits seeks to deny you the benefits you're entitled.
Jeff Kirschner is an expert in obtaining disability and workers' compensation benefits for his clients. You need to call Jeff before you apply or after you're denied to get the benefits you deserve. 888-235-HELP. 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
All right, we're back. All right, we had the research team do a little checking during the break, and the average cost of a vehicle is actually $37,876. I think Brian mentioned $36,000, which means he was $1,876 off, which puts him in the range of being close but not accurate. Now, in terms of debt, acceptable versus unacceptable, there was one other acceptable one that I wanted to mention. Business debt to the extent essential to run your business, a credit line, things like that.
Sure, because businesses have cash flow issues, and as long as the business is paying its obligations and its receivables exceed have the ability to pay off the debt if need to be.
Yeah,
then
I mean, I would come back to it on the business side and say, if your cash flow year to year is sufficient to cover all interest and your obligations, and you need the credit line in order to even out your cash flow, that's fine. But if your monthly income is insufficient to cover your expenses on a continuing basis, and you're funding it by borrowing from the bank, you have a problem, because all you're doing is losing money.
Right, but if you want to grow as a business,
You need leverage.
You need leverage. You need to borrow money. If you want to buy the 5th or 6th McDonald's,
Yeah, and you
need it.
need leverage to be able to expand your business as well. Absolutely. All right, let's do unacceptable debt. High interest, all high interest debt is what I would say.
I completely agree.
Credit cards, payday loans, awful.
Wait.
Judgments.
There's unacceptable debt, and then there's viciously unacceptable debt. And payday loans and any sort of those hard money lender loans are just beyond unacceptable.
The one I see and I hear about all the time are people that take advances on lawsuits. The interest rate is
Terrible.
astronomical, and people end up being so sorry that they ever took those loans to begin with.
By the time their case gets resolved, all the money ends up going to the lender, and the interest rate is a killer. And it's big mistake. Yeah, good point. Let's talk about businesses a little bit. Factoring arrangements. Very common for a business to use a factor on their receivable rather than having a commercial credit line. The reason? You're not able to get the bank to give you a normal credit line, so your secondary source for financing is a factor. It can be essential and necessary. The problem is a factor's charging you a lot more money than you would pay a normal commercial bank on a loan arrangement, and that is compromising your ability to grow, like Jim was saying, as well as your ability to make profit.
But even with factors, there's different groups of factors. There's the factors that will work with small businesses, and the amount they're charging is astronomical. And then there's like your auto industry factors, where they're not half as bad.
and they're negotiable depending on the size of your business. The category that you were kind of alluding to is a loan that Jeff and I like to call a gangster loan. Right. And these are the loans that are commonly marketed, although they seem to have gone down recently during COVID. I think as a result of just the fact that the business environment. But these are the loans that advertise, we'll get you your money in 24 hours. You've been in business for for a year, you've got gross over $500,000, call us, we'll fund you in 24 hours. What do? They get your tax return, they run a credit check real quickly, and they loan you the money, but they don't loan you and say it's an interest. They buy your cash flow is what they do. So they'll say, we'll buy your next $100,000 of cash flow for $50,000, and then effectively they're charging you twice the amount of the loan payable in the course of a year.
And they sell it, they say it's like, well, we're only going to charge you 25 or 30% interest, but when you actually factor it out, it's more like 120% interest.
Yeah, because
150%
it's 25% interest over the course of the total sum, but they're getting the money from you in 6 months. So then, so then that means it's done. Then it's 50% interest. Those are horrible loans. You should never take them. And what is seductive about them is they're so easy. If you go to the bank and apply for a loan, you have to go through a process. You have to provide them financial statements. You have to show them your tax returns. You're going to probably have to guarantee the loan, but you always have to guarantee these loans as well. But they're going to loan you the money based upon making an assessment of do you have the ability to pay. The gangster loan doesn't care whether you have the ability to pay. They want to loan you the money, and then they're going to gouge that money back from you as quickly as possible. And if not, then they're going to threaten to close you down because they're taking a security interest in all of your assets and everything else. Those are horrible loans. If you're even thinking about it, my advice to you is don't do it. Call us. There's a better solution.
Is there legislation to prevent this? Is the government looking into this?
Maybe in some states. I mean, New York and California are the worst. That's where most of these companies are based in. And they all provide for venue and jurisdiction in their home state. So if you take out the loan, you then get sued in New York, and then they enter a judgment against you in New York, and it's a big problem.
New York just changed that law.
Yeah, they
we
actually
had a case
tightened it up.
where they changed the law that you couldn't export the debt. So New York changed the law where you couldn't sue in New York somebody that had no other connection to New York other than they entered into one of these crazy loans.
Because we just had a case on that, and our client got judgment entered against him in New York, but the law was changed after this judgment got entered against our client. So those are terrible loans. All right, what about the where? Where is, who, what, where, and when?
Okay.
What about the where?
What about the where?
The where.
Debt is debt. It doesn't matter where you are.
No, who's on first?
I understand.
Third base. Oh, wait a second.
Right. No, I don't think the where really matters.
No.
Okay. The when as to eliminating the debt.
Now. Eliminate it now.
Okay.
Get rid of it now.
Here's how I look at it. It's a clock ticking. We've all grown up with this saying, a penny saved is a penny earned.
Thanks, Ben.
Okay? Interest paid is money wasted. That's how you have to think about it. So the longer you carry the debt, the more you're wasting the money. That's the key. We'll take a break. When we come back, we'll talk about the methods to eliminate debt.
Carrying too much debt? Resolve your debt. Call THAV GROSS.
You don't need to be broke, and you don't need to hit rock bottom. If you have income and you're struggling with debt, dump it. Think about the next 10 or 20 years. If you do what the banks tell you, you'll have nothing to retire with. There is a solution.
Don't waste your future. Call THAV GROSS. We're experts at eliminating credit card debt. 888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. Tax problems are major problems. Don't let the IRS levy your wages and seize your assets. There is a solution.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
If you're behind on your taxes and owe money to the IRS, call THAV GROSS.
We've been solving tax problems for 32 years. We stop wage levies, resolve unfiled returns, and obtain the best possible settlements.
Call THAV GROSS today, 888-235-HELP.
Will I outlive my money?
Medicaid is so confusing.
A will, or do I need a trust?
What if mom needs to go in a nursing home?
At Samasco Law, we have the answers to all of these questions. Our attorneys will eliminate the confusion and develop a plan that's right for you. We are dedicated to veterans benefits, assisted living, and nursing home care. Samasco Law can help prepare you for a long future. Call Samasco Law today.
Time for announcements. So I remind our viewers to listen to us for Law and Reality Live on the Praise Network, Tuesdays, 10 o'clock a.m., Saturdays, 7 o'clock a.m., and on KISS 105.9, Sundays, 7 o'clock a.m. We've got free webinar anytime you want. Just go online, go to thavgross.com, lawandreality.com, how to eliminate your debt and get a fresh start and live debt-free. To be free, you must be debt-free. The webinar addresses all of the methods we use to eliminate debt so you can preserve your future income for you and your family. The real key is if you get rid of the debt, you are then in a position where you can start living off of your current income and building some savings, which is critical to your future. You want to learn solutions using bankruptcy and solutions outside of bankruptcy. Attendees get a free copy of my book, Dump Your Debt. Also remember, you can always come in for a free consultation. We're back to in-office consultations. If you prefer a Zoom or a telephone conference, we can do that. But you're now welcome to come back to the office and attend a conference in office like the good old days. Just call 888-235-HELP or go online and sign up. Debt issues, tax issues, estate planning issues, business issues, elder law issues with Pat Samasco or Jim Samasco, disability issues with Jeff Kirshner, criminal law issues with Scott Weinberg. Sign up at lawandreality.com or call 888-235-HELP. Also, we've got free reports available on the website anytime, Resolving Tax Problems, The Real Solutions by myself and Jeff Linden, How to Save Your Home from Foreclosure, Business Formations, Loans and Grants for Small Businesses in Detroit, and The Retiree's Guide to Social Security from Pat Samasco. I want to thank our sponsors, THAV GROSS, Samasco Law, Kirshner Law. Now back to the show.
Is the debt piling up? Struggling to get by?
It's all about preserving future income. Bankruptcy is one option. When it's right, it's the least costly, most effective way to save your home, eliminate a second mortgage, and wipe out credit card debt. But you need to address the problem now.
We help people with bankruptcy. Call the experts.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP. If you're retired and in a financial crisis, there is a way out.
It pains me when I see a retired couple exhaust their savings by paying credit card bills and for a home hopelessly underwater.
THAV GROSS specializes in helping retired people in financial crisis.
You just can't keep paying until you're broke. You need to address the problem now.
888-235-HELP. That's 888-235-HELP.
We're THAV GROSS. Our firm will solve your problem. COVID-19 presents a fight for our personal and business financial survival. You have to make choices. Cash is critical. Do you tap your retirement, home equity line, or run up the credit cards? You need the right plan to avoid being wiped out, and you need it now. You can't rely on the government or banks. Call us. We're the experts in financial crisis. We were here for you and your business in the Great Recession, and we're here for you now. We'll create a plan and get through this together. THAV GROSS will solve your problem.
All right, so we're back. All right, let's focus on, we've got the who, what, where, and the when. Now we're talking about the when. Let's get rid of the debt, methods to eliminate. Let me just kind of throw them out, and then we'll work through them. Chapter 7 bankruptcy, Chapter 13 bankruptcy, debt resolution, resolving debt outside of bankruptcy,
Tax
offer and compromise and taxes, business debt, I would say is a special species. That's a situation where I'm also often involved in how to eliminate debt. It's a more extenuated, complicated negotiation process, but there is a method there. So, how do you decide which method to employ, Brian?
Well, the first rule, it's a simple rule. What's the quickest and least expensive? And when we look at that, we do an evaluation of every person that comes in. We're going to look and see whether or not they're a Chapter 7, a Chapter 13 debt resolution, whether they should do any of those techniques.
In general terms, what's the fastest, simplest solution?
Chapter 7 is the quickest, easiest, simplest, least expensive method to get out of debt. It's instant. It gives you a fresh start when you're done, and the debt is behind you.
All right, what about income tax debt? How do you get rid of that?
So income tax debt is dischargeable in bankruptcy if it meets certain qualifiers. One, it has to have come due at least 3 years ago. 2, you had to have filed your taxes at least 2 years ago. And It couldn't have been assessed in the last 8 months. If you meet those qualifiers, your tax debt is generally dischargeable, subject to about 65 other rules.
All right, so that's in Chapter 7. That's part of Chapter 7
and Chapter 13.
Okay, tell me about Chapter 13. How does that? Tell me about Chapter 13 and debt resolution.
Chapter 13 is structured reorganization, where you repay some of the debt that you owe over a period of time, generally 3 to 5 years. We look at your budget, we figure out what you can afford, and then we force your creditors to accept that. Now, debt resolution is negotiating a settlement with your creditors for pennies on the dollar. When we look at Chapter 13 versus Chapter 7, Chapter 13 versus debt resolution, what we're doing is we're weighing out which one gives you a better result. Over a 3 to 5 year period, if you're going to pay back less money in a Chapter 13, we're going to look to that versus debt resolution. If you're going to pay back less in debt resolution, we're going to look to that.
All right, let me try and regurgitate that and see, and tell me if I'm making sense. If you can qualify for a Chapter 7, that's the quick and easy way. You keep your assets, you meet the requirements for Chapter 7, you discharge the debt, it's a 3-month process, and you're done. Fair statement?
Basically correct.
You don't always qualify for a 7. Okay, you may make too much money, you may have too much equity in your home. The amount you have in your retirement accounts isn't a factor.
No, actually, you can have $1 million in your retirement accounts and still qualify for Chapter 7.
But because your income is too high, or you have too much equity in a house and too many assets, that may stop you from a 7. Then you're in a situation where to get rid of the debt, you're looking at a 13 or debt resolution. And there we have to analyze which is the way. Go back to the rule. We want to get rid of the debt at the least cost and in the fastest way possible. So sometimes the Chapter 13 will be beneficial, sometimes debt resolution. The answer is, if the Chapter 13 is going to cost you more money than debt resolution, then we do debt resolution.
Absolutely.
Now, it's hard in 1 minute to give you a quick scenario, but if we took an example, let's say you were making $70,000 of income in a family of 4. In that situation, you're going to be a Chapter 7.
Most likely, yes.
Okay. Let's say that same family instead had $110,000 of income with $80,000 of credit card debt.
It's a possibility that they could be a Chapter 7, they could be a Chapter 13, or debt resolution. You got to do the analysis.
Kind of in the middle.
Right.
Now, let's say that same family was making $200,000 a year.
I'm probably going to recommend debt resolution because they're going to have to pay back more in a Chapter 13 than they would if we settle their debts.
So what it comes down to is that's where the analysis comes in. But the process is, how are we going to the faster we get rid of the debt, the sooner we start saving that money and not accumulating more debt and not paying interest. And if you're not paying interest and you're actually saving that money, that can be your retirement. Have a great week. We'll be back next week with Law and Reality. Thanks for watching.